Hey guys, what's up? So yeah, new video. Finally. Yes, I know it's been a very long time. I've been meaning to have it's the same speech I give all the time. Been meaning to have another video out earlier than this. Life has just been getting in the way in ways that I do not want to get into right now, but suffice to say, it's been a harrowing few months. It's been a harrowing few weeks. You really don't want to know between life and my job constantly slamming me with 12-hour shifts overtime consistently. Like this week coming up, I got 3 days straight, 12-hour shifts, one after the other, and then I might possibly have to work the weekend too. It's crazy, and plus having to deal with a world where loyalty and commitment don't mean shit. It's just ugh. But got a video out finally, and it's on one that I think you guys will like if you look at the title. It's a review, sword review that is a long time coming because I've had this piece for almost a year now, and I, had promised that I would actually review this, and it's really important to me that I review this considering what it is, and what it is this. Some of you guys may remember that this is actually a gift. It was given to me for my birthday by Skall and his mate Kara, his life mate Kara. I was very touched by the gift because they knew that I had wanted a Tang Dao for a while. It's while you can see this thing is kind of curved, and if I pull the blade out, you can see it's somewhat katana-like. And some of you guys may know that the katana is not exactly my weapon. I don't dislike the katana, and in fact I think it's a fairly decent sword for what it is. It's just not my weapon. My weapon is the Jian. But the Tang Dao, or Tang Dynasty Dao, or Tang knife, however you want to call it, or Tang saber, I've been intrigued by that weapon for quite some time. I like the design of it. I like how it actually is the precursor to the Japanese katana. Look it up, it's true. And I just, like the overall design, like, the handle, this really small but rather, to me, elegant looking handguard. I know it's really, really tiny, but these things are not made to block weapons. I don't want to get into that. It's a completely different video. But yeah, I've always liked the design of these things. And so I got it as a birthday gift for last year once they knew that I was interested. Now, Skall already has a review of this weapon. Like, he already, gave his thoughts, he gave a basic review, all that type of stuff. And I got the link down below in case you guys haven't seen it or interested in seeing the basic, his impressions as well as the basic specs. And I don't really want to go over, the same things he did. I'll touch on some basics that he did, just for completeness sake, but I really want to talk more about my impressions of this weapon ever since getting it and handling it, as well as a couple of interesting things I found out about it that might intrigue you. So, let's go over this thing. This weapon is made by Ronin Katana. If you don't know who Ronin is, they're a sword company. They're known for making katanas, though they recently have been getting into making Chinese weapons as well. And they make a lot of beautiful, high-quality pieces. They also, however, make a line of katana that I have a great amount of respect for, and it's their Dojo Pro line. I've handled a few of these, and they are fantastic for what they are. What they essentially are high-quality beaters, but at around the $200, $300 range. I mean, the fact that the price is so low, you might be thinking that, they must be skimping on something. And what they are skimping on are the blades. Essentially, instead of a katana with, that's differentially hardened with the wavy line, the hamon on there, and folded and all that, no, they're just mono steel blades made out of 1060 steel. But that 1060 steel, the way they temper it, it makes it very durable, and the fact that it's mono steel means that it can handle the shock of a cut better than a differentially hardened blade would. Look it up. It's true. And they basically have this no-nonsense approach to it. They're like, look, if you just need a sword that's a beater that you're going to be using to practice your cutting technique with, here. That's what this is. It's a tool that is going to constantly handle the continuing grueling, I don't want to say abuse, but just the constant use of cutting with it all the time. Cut, 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 cut. Something that you probably aren't going to want to do with $1,000 sword. But you can do it with this one, and it holds up to, that constant usage. The edge is, pretty good. The blades are pretty good on these things, and I'm attesting it as someone who's actually handled a couple of these pieces before. But what really catches me about them are the high quality fittings on a sword at that price range. You normally don't see that at that price range. This is not a commercial for them, though. I just want to tell you, like, right off the bat, I already have a respect for this company because of some of the stuff that they gave. So when I found out that they were the ones who made this, I was definitely intrigued by the build quality of it. Like, I was like, oh, Ronin made that? Oh, it must be good. And I more or less was not disappointed when I got my hands on this. It was pretty much what I expected for a higher quality piece, especially since at the time of Skall's review of the weapon, it was going for $875. I can see where the money went. But I was intrigued by it, not just from who made it and the quality, fittings on it, like solid brass, real ray skin, differentially hardened and folded blade. I will have some pictures and videos so you can actually take a good look at it. It's just really good stuff. The scabbard, well put together. The sword hanger, beautifully done. But I was intrigued by the fact that it was curved. You see, Tang Dao, or Tang knives, or Tang sabers, they're all interchangeable, these weapons. If you want, I can go into it later. They're supposed to be straight. They're not curved. In fact, you don't really start to see curved weapons, generally speaking, in China until about after the Tang Dynasty period. I mean, you start seeing it more in the Song and so on. But generally, their swords were straight. Even though you started seeing saber coming out of China during the late end of the Han Dynasty period onward, and they gravitated toward the saber instead of the Jian as the battlefield weapon of choice, yeah, they were single-edged, but they were straight. So when I saw this, I'm like, what exactly is this? Because Tang Dynasty Dao aren't curved. I looked. I checked. I went crazy looking up, like, old pieces, old museum pieces, researching stuff, asking around. I mean, I remember the first time I saw this, I'm like, they don't come curved. Where did they find a curve? Decided to double check, triple check. They're all straight. What the hell? I just was like, odd. So I decided to email Ronin directly. I let them know that I got this piece as a gift. And I was, curious as to why they made these. And I was curious for two major reasons. One, because, again, Tang Dynasty Dao are supposed to be straight, not curved. And indeed, like, this thing is made like a Tang Dynasty Dao. Everything pretty much fits it, from the blade geometry to the fittings. The only thing that's different about it is the fact that it's slightly curved like a katana. So I was like... And then the other weird thing is, they don't sell these anymore. Go to the site. I have the link below. You will see the straight version, which is what they are supposed to look like, but you won't find the curved version. You will not find these. So I was intrigued by, like, why is it that you're not selling it anymore? Was this an experiment? Was this a prototype? Was it, like, a limited edition series where you're like, okay, we're going to do a cross between the katana and this, since, the Tang Dynasty Dao was the precursor to the katana? Like, what's going on? And I got a very interesting answer. They did email me back. And they basically told me that this was based on a museum piece that they saw in China, which again intrigues me because as far as I could tell, there were no curved Tang Dynasty Dao. I looked. Then again, I mean, who knows? My research is probably incomplete. Maybe there is one. They said that they based it on a museum piece. But then again, they didn't exactly tell me if that museum piece was curved or not. So who knows? It could still be their interpretation. But that's not the part that really got me. What really got me is why they don't have these on the site anymore. It's not because of any defects or anything like that. No, it's because they only made 3 of them. Yeah. They only made 3. According to the email I got from Ronin. Yeah. So yeah, this is a limited edition piece, alright. Very limited. And I have one. That blew me away, that this was the gift that I was given. for my birthday. I was already, very appreciative, and I had thanked Skall over and over again for it. But boy, when I found that out, and I found this out a while back, I let him know. I was like, holy. I can't even get rid of this thing now, even if I wanted to. For one thing, it was a gift, from a dear friend. So I don't give gifts away like that. But knowing now that it's limited, and all this, is like, that's a hell of a gift. You do not give that away unless you're really, really desperate, like you'd like on your last limbs, desperate for like a grain of rice or a candy wrapper to sniff because you're that hungry. I'm getting off track here. So yeah, that's the reason why they don't have these anymore. And I'm personally thinking that they only made 3 of these because they wanted to see if they can make a cross between a katana and a tong, and then they decided, well, maybe it's too much work and decided to stick with the straight ones. I don't know, but there you have it. So you should already see the specs for this in the text description below. I don't need to go over it again because Skall already did. What I would like to go over now is my impressions of it in use, because I have cut with this several times. I have tried to practice with it with some very, very basic saber technique. The Dao is not my weapon, so I'm going to look fairly clumsy doing it. But, my impressions of this is that it's a very, very beautifully made sword. It should be for $875. I mean, that's what they were selling it for at the time. And now that I know it's limited, who knows what this thing is worth now. A couple of things. Skall had mentioned the fact that the ray skin was very abrasive. Uncomfortably so, to the point where you probably aren't going to want to use this without wearing gloves. And I kind of agree with that. I say kind of because I could see somebody else trying to use this and be like, because you want whatever sword you're using to have a decent enough grip so you can have a good purchase of it while you're, cutting with it. You don't want that thing to slide right out of your hands, This is not something that you want flying out of your hands towards somebody, We've heard a lot of horror stories about that with swords. But you don't want it so, so abrasive, that it hurts your hand. But here's the weird thing. I've been using this a lot, like for basic cutting, whatever, and it hasn't really hurt my hands. Not as much as I thought it would. Like if I'm doing, basic cutting for about 10, 20, 30 minutes, I don't really feel it. I don't know if it's just me. Maybe I got like leathery palms or something. I don't know, but it hasn't really bothered me. Like I have to use this for quite some time and really get crazy with it before I start feeling it. And I tend to feel it like a little bit right here in my fingers. And even then it's not, so uncomfortable that I got to put the thing down and be like, I need gloves. It doesn't really bother me that much. I found it hasn't really gotten in the way. I will say that I hope that the Tang Dao that they're selling right now has a slightly less abrasive version, but I don't know for sure, and who knows, that might actually be the way they're traditionally done. I'd have to get another piece to find out, or somebody who's. I had contacts. I should have asked them this before I did the video, but who knows? I will say that it doesn't really bother me too much, but I can see how it could bother somebody else. The other thing that I've noticed about this is that cutting with this for a while, the way the balance is and the way the blade geometry is made, it just seems obvious to me. Well, to me, it just feels like this thing was made to be used in 2 hands. Now, you could be like, well, obviously, look at the freaking length of the handle. Look at that. I mean, obviously, it's a 2-hander. Well, yeah, but the Chinese have really built their martial reputation around a lot of one-handed use. And the Tang Dao was no exception. I mean, yeah, they would go in 2 hands when they had to for war and all that, but they also had a lot of one-handed technique. And I expected this to be balanced for it. And it more or less is. I mean, you can use this with one hand without too much of a problem, but for some strange reason, I found that when I was cutting with this, it kind of... I found it somewhat difficult to do. I encountered a resistance that I hadn't ever felt before with a sword when I was cutting with it one-handed, that is. You'll see it in the footage that I'm about to put up, but I will say right now, because it's going to be hard for me to show in the footage, like, as I would cut through the bottle that I was, as I was using as a target, I would feel this, like the blade wanted to twist as I was going through the bottle. Like, no matter how well I was, using my edge alignment, and it's very easy to get, I shouldn't say very easy, but with the way the handle is designed, you're gonna know where the edge is. It's not like the round handle of my Hanjian over there. It's pretty easy to tell where the edge is. And so I would line it up and I'd do my cut, and I could feel the blade trying to twist as I'm cutting it, which would make for a bad cut. It would tear through the bottle instead of cutting through it. And it's not because the edge is bad. Like, give me a moment. I mean, even now, take a piece of paper, and even now, see? It's still sharp. Yeah, kind of messed it up. Yeah, the edge is still there, guys. I'm not running my thumb on this. It still cuts. It still has a pretty good edge. And you will see a couple of really good cuts that I do with this, but with two hands. With one hand, I was having a bit of a problem. I did finally do some decent one-handed cuts, but it just was fighting me. And I personally think the reason for this is the blade geometry. This does not have the same blade geometry as you would expect a katana to have. And I know people would think, well, it looks like a katana, so it is. Not really. For one thing, look at the tip. That is not the blade geometry that you would see on a typical Japanese katana. Look carefully at that. And then look at the tip of a katana blade, and you will see there is a difference. But it's not the tip that's given the problem. It's the rest of the blade geometry. Look at, I don't know how well you can tell, how you can see that, but you got, the edge leading up to like the front, like it goes up, I'd say about a little under a third of the blade, and then instantly it goes just completely straight toward the spine. A katana is not like that. If you give me a moment here, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so here I've got some basic footage of me doing some test cutting with this blade, and of course I'm just, right now before I do the test cutting, I'm warming up a little bit, but I'm also showing how maneuverable this sword actually is. Even though the weight is a bit forward balanced, more for the chop, since it's a saber type weapon, it's still pretty maneuverable for one-handed use. Though, as I said earlier, this thing was really meant to be used in two hands, and you will be seeing that with the cut. I'll talk about that later. But again, I'm just doing some basic stuff, and you can tell I'm a bit rusty here. You can also tell that the saber or the Dao was not really my weapon. I'm over swinging a bit, and plus I was rusty in cutting, and I was making a couple of mistakes, which I'm sure you guys will all see and wince at. But here we go. Now, this is the very first cut I did, and right away, this is what made me feel like I was rusty, because I'm grabbing the sword, checking, make sure everything's okay, looking for making sure there's no rattling, which there wasn't. Accidentally hit the tree, and right away I made one big mistake in that I wasn't exactly hitting it right at the point of percussion, and I also almost hit the camera, as you can see right there. But right away I'm looking at that cut, and while it was okay, it wasn't that clean, and that right away bothered me, and I thought it was, well, it's because I'm rusty. And that wasn't really what it was. As I was reeling with every bottle I was cutting, I was having this problem. And also, yeah, I had my paper towels there, my whole rule, wipe the blade as you cut, because you don't want water lingering. I'm a little anal retentive when it comes to that, but that's my thing. And again, one quick one-handed swing I did there, and I'm looking at the cut of that bottle, and it didn't look that good. And here's where I'm starting to get worried, because I don't want the sword to actually look bad, because it does have a very sharp edge. But the cuts were just not coming clean, and I was feeling that weird resistance in my hand as I was cutting with this. I could feel the blade wanting to turn. So here I cut it with two hands to try to get it more stable, and that one was a cleaner cut, but still not as nice as I'd like. But at that there, I kind of hit it a little too close to the tip of the blade, so it wasn't necessarily, the blade's geometry that was throwing me off there. So here, once again, I'm like trying to figure out what's going on, and I made that cut, and that one was better, and it showed how sharp and how hard the edge was, because I went through the top of the bottle to do that. Went through the cap and the neck, which is very, it tends to be reinforced in plastic bottles. So in here again, I'm just like, what's going on? Like I'm like, man, my cut's that bad. So I'm like really trying to like clean up my form a little bit, wondering what the problem is. And I again go for a little bit of an overswing there, but two-handed swing. But there, as you can see, it's a much cleaner cut. I was making cleaner cuts with two hands rather than with one hand. And then finally, you see this bottle here. I decided to try to one-handed again to see if, you know, maybe I could do it one-handed. And that cut was clean. A nice horizontal cut across. And I tried to do a little, extra little, just for funsies, just whack it, but of course, it didn't work. Though it's funny considering what the other sword can do, which you'll see that later. And then later I went back, I filled up 3 more bottles because I'm like, okay, what's going on with this? Like, is it my technique or is it the sword or what? So, filled up 3 more bottles. Did another two-handed swing there. Almost hit the camera again. And you see I'm not, because I'm like, yeah, that's much better. That two-handed cut went through, no rough edges, no twist, you know, no turn. So I'm realizing that this thing, because of the blade geometry, it really wanted me to, you know, use 2 hands. And again, we'll be getting into that, you know, when we get back to the main review proper, when we get out of the footage here. I did a one-handed cut there, and that one was also pretty good. Because I was realizing the two-handed made it more stable, so I really had to really, like, work overtime to make sure that that one-handed swing was perfectly aligned and to fight the blade's, you know, tendency to want to twist as it was cutting through the target. And then finally, this bottle here, I decided to go for a basic two-handed cut again. You know, just to test it. And, well, can we get on with it, please? You see, again, I'm just trying to figure out the right way to cut this thing and clean up my form. Perfect cut. Right at the point of percussion. 2 hands to keep it stable, keep it from twisting, and it was just a nice, clean cut. Didn't thrust through that, but I wasn't expecting it. This video is getting kind of long, but yeah, I think a gift like that deserves a decent video. Let's look at a katana. Let's look at the blade geometry of this. For one thing, look at the tip. See that? See how this is a different tip. Some of you guys might, I don't see the difference. There's a difference. Let's put this out. Look, I'm going two-handed. Look at that. Look at the blade geometry of the tip on this sword. See that? Now look at the blade geometry on this sword. Do you see the difference? Do you see how you got a little bit more rounded shape toward the tip there? And not only that, but how the tip is shaped in terms of, like, just the geometry of you know, the shape of the blade, the thickness where the lines happen to terminate at. It's pretty much different than this. And then the other thing is, look at how the edge is designed. Here, you got the edge, the sharp edge of the blade, right? And I want to try to turn this again. The lighting is kind of weird here. But notice how much surface area you have in a gentle slope leading from the sharp part toward the spine. And it's like the last, I'd say almost a third or maybe even close to a fourth. I'd say in between, like just between a third and a fourth or whatever. Like if you look very closely to the spine, you got a little bit of, there's more surface area between the edge and that ridge point there than from the ridge point to the spine. Whereas with the Tang Dao, it's the opposite. The edge now, leading from the edge to the ridge, that middle ridge of the blade, that now has less surface area. And then the rest is flat going toward the spine. I honestly think that makes a difference in cutting, especially when you're trying to do it one-handed, because believe it or not, I can cut one-handed with this with little problem. But when I was trying to do it with my Tang Dao, I noticed that it would almost feel like water planing. I would cut through, and the force of the cut, it would want to kind of glide off. It just wanted to suddenly twist in my hand as I was cutting, and it was a very weird feeling. So, yeah, I don't know if the straight versions of these are gonna operate the same way, but I do know that this version, cutting through there, it was a lot easier for me to go through the target using both my hands to keep that blade from twisting. Very strange feeling, and it's not one that I've encountered with other swords. Like the Dien, I don't have that problem. Even a katana, I don't have that problem. This one, I'm really going to have to like work on my technique to do it one-handed, and I'm really thinking it's because of the blade geometry. I found that very interesting. Other than that, oh yeah, the other thing, of course, is the extra, weight, because of how the sword is balanced. The extra weight put, toward, the blade. It's a little bit more blade heavy than you would expect for something that's supposed to be one-handed, but as I've just mentioned, I'm thinking this thing was made for two hands, like a katana. Except even the katana, well, the katana still has that kind of forward weight to it. And the point of balance on here is around 5 inches from the handguard anyway. So it's par of the course. It's pretty much what I expected. It doesn't feel heavy in this hand. I can wield it with one hand with little strain to my forearms and wrist. So it's, it's not bad. That, plus the two-handed use, the extra forward weight, I'm really thinking this was made pretty much to be two hands, and I just get the feeling that this was made to be like a katana for, well, it's not supposed to be a katana, but I think the curved design of this and the fact that it's supposed to be a precursor to the actual Japanese katana, I honestly am thinking, unless I'm proven otherwise, that this was probably made for a Japanese stylist, a katana practitioner who wanted something unique, to add to his collection to maybe to practice with. And I think because of the unique blade geometry, well, they practice with two hands anyway, so it's not really going to be that much of a problem for them, but they're going to feel the difference. And I'm wondering if that's the reason why they only made 3 of these, and after that they're like, let's just stick with the straight ones. they probably have encountered the same thing I did. Who knows? But that's my take. So yeah, that's, my impressions on this particular piece. Do I like it? Yes. Even with the weirdness that I noticed with cutting with one hand with this particular weapon, it's unique. It's beautiful in its own right. Very well made. In all the cutting I've done with it, in all the practice, nothing has come loose. The edge has retained, its sharpness. The fittings have not gotten loose at all. It's pretty much the level of quality I've pretty much expected from Ronin to begin with. So for a higher priced piece, it's pretty much met my expectations and then some. It's one of the prides of my collection now. I am not letting this sucker go unless under duress or extreme circumstances. And I'm just really, I really feel honored that it was given to me as a gift. So, yeah, that's just one of the pieces of my collection. When I can tighten up my Dao techniques a little bit better, that's probably the one that you're going to be seeing me use, because I don't plan on getting myself a Dao for a while anyway. And, yeah, I really, really like it. I wasted like over 20 minutes saying that I really like this weapon, but whatever. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and hope you guys got something out of it. Next video, we're reviewing that other sword that I got more recently. So stay tuned for that, and catch you guys later. Oh, almost forgot. I said that there was something here for you katana guys, and it wasn't just a review on the Tang Dynasty weapon, because it was, because of the katana and all that. But notice I happen to have shown this, which is a katana. Now, I am a Chinese stylist. I, use Chinese weapons, and I practice with Chinese weapons with the limited amount of skill that I have. I don't have much use for katana, but I got katana, and I kind of want to get rid of some of them. I mean, I do like katana, and I do have a couple of pieces that I think are gorgeous, but for the most part, I don't need these. And there is I really need to raise some funds between now and the next few months, because there's a quest that I'm currently on, and that quest needs money. It requires money, which I have very little of. Now, I'm hesitant to just say, please join my Patreon, please contribute if you can, because I know how, few and far between my videos have been lately because of life and crap and stuff. And I'm trying desperately to remedy that. But here's the thing. If this quest works the way I hope it will, there will be more videos. And not just more videos of me doing my usual talking and camera thing. Like, there will actually be a really good chance of me being actually able to practice on some other people, show techniques with people, finally do the videos I really wanted to do. I don't want to say what the quest is yet. It's a surprise. It's a huge surprise, but I don't want to say it because I don't want to jinx it, and I, you know, whatever. But yeah, I gotta raise funds. One way is the Patreon, but the other one is trying to get rid of these. This one in particular, or at least I have a couple like these that I'm trying to get rid of. If you're interested, please PM me and I can give you more further details on what they're like, the condition that they're in, and they're, by the way, they're all in really good condition. A couple I've never even touched at all. Getting rid of them for a pretty, you know, decent price, we can negotiate. But I'm trying to raise funds. I really, really need it right now. So before I decide to just simply throw these suckers on eBay, I'm giving you guys a chance. So if you're interested, let me know. That's it. See ya.